I'm excited to have this opportunity to spend a little time talking with you. Really, my particular session, I want to really tie into something that I think is very, very important as it relates to success, and particularly as it relates to leadership that I think is going to be beneficial to you. I thank my host for the invitation to bring me here, and I look forward to spending a good few minutes with you, challenging you. The funny thing about it is because I want to talk to you about change. And the one thing that you can count on is there will always be change. And if you don't plan on the change as a leader, that will determine how successful you are. Whether it is good change or bad change, there will always be change. And generally there will be both. Throughout longevity, most people never have a straight ride up a hill, even though their bio says it does. How many of you know that the bio is a lie? It doesn't have everything in it. The resume only has the good things in it. It tells you about the peaks, it doesn't tell you about the valleys. The accomplishments doesn't tell you about the failures. But you learn as much from your failures as you do from your successes. I think one of the most difficult things that can happen to people in leadership is to step into leadership that you didn't grow and that you didn't groom because you don't know where the issues are. There's something about being on the trajectory yourself and taking the roller coaster ride and riding the wave that makes a big difference as it relates to leadership. When you think about it this way. We often, when we select leaders or we want to evaluate people or we want to choose staff, we quickly want to know about their IQ, where they went to school, what their background is, because we're trying to find out in a nice way, are you smart? Okay? And we don't want to just walk in the door and sit down and say, are you smart? So we start asking you all of these trick questions, how many people did you supervise? How long have you done it? The bottom line, we're trying to find out, am I hiring a ninny? We just don't want to be that crass, but that's actually what we want to know. We want to know about your IQ, your intellectual ability, the quotient of intellectualism that you have through which to handle and manage situations based on your IQ. The second thing that we really need to be asking, and we really don't know this until we get into it, is your EQ. And I'm not talking about something you do on your music. I'm talking about your emotional quotient, your range of emotion and how you handle stress and pressure. Because many, many times you can have people on your team and on your side who have the intellectual ability to do what you're trying to get them to do, but they do not have the emotional wherewithal, and you don't know it till you get on the ride. It's like me. I look like a man's man. I think I look like a fairly strong, macho guy, and I am, until you put me on a ride on Six Flags. I turned into a little 5-year-old girl in the ride. I do not go on those rides for anything at any time because I don't want anybody to see me act like that. I start clinging on to whoever I'm with. It's a bad thing when you go on a ride with a girl and you're clinging on to her, talking about, I'm not good on the ride. I'm good going up. It's the going down that drives me crazy. What you want to know is, can you handle the down ride? Do you turn into somebody else when things start getting crazy? Do you have the emotional maturity, the EQ, emotional quotient, to go through the highs and the lows of what it takes to be successful? Because if you're going to be successful, you learn from the lows how to ride on the highs. So if you can't take the dip, you can't take the climb. You have to have the emotional wherewithal to go on the journey and to be comfortable and to remain cool in a crisis. Not lose your head, not freak out, even though you want to. You can do it on the inside. You can be like a screaming 6-year-old girl on the inside, but on the outside, you have to maintain your cool. Because there is nothing as frightening as a frightened leader. It's scary. I don't know anything about flying a plane, but this is how I evaluate the trouble on the plane. I've gotten used to turbulence. I've flown all over the world. I've been in everything that would go up in the air. I rode on it. And I don't get nervous until the people up front get nervous. When they come out of the captain's booth like, Immediately, I don't even have to get a report. I don't have to know what's wrong. I just panic. If they're kind of cool, you know, and say, there's going to be a little bit of turbulence, fasten your seatbelts, I say, oh, it's cool. If you have somebody conveying a message with panic and fear and terror, you don't even have to know the details. You just start freaking out. That's what happens when you hire somebody who has the IQ but doesn't have the EQ to handle the ride, who freaks under pressure, who starts screaming at the staff, who starts yelling at the employees, and they just fall apart under pressure. So you want to make sure they have good IQ, you want to make sure they have good EQ, but here's the thing that is most important, and there is no test for it. They're AQ, and we never talk about AQ. You've heard people talk about IQ, you hear people talk about EQ, you don't hear people talk about AQ. AQ is your adaptability quotient. Are you adaptable? How do you respond to change? My class is supposed to deal with the ability to lead people, whether through change, unprecedented growth, or unexpected setbacks. It is the single most important thing that you have to have in order to be an effective leader today. When you hire somebody, or you move into a position, or you open up a company, or you start a business, it's a lot like getting married. It comes with this big warning, and in my other job, that's what I do. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join together into the holy estate of matrimony, this man and this woman, and we start asking them the questions, the real questions. The questions should warn you. I know she looks beautiful today and everything is wonderful and he's smelling good. He just came from the barbershop and he smells like liniment or something and everything's just great today. But do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold? And then we start getting the have and hold is good. Then it starts getting into the crazy stuff. For richer or for poor, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health. And you know what we do? We tell you, we say, do you? And you say, I do. But you're saying I do to something that you've never seen. Because if you haven't spent time with them, you don't know how they act sick. I can deal with you sick, but I didn't know you got hateful when you got sick. You know, I didn't know that when we get broke, you're going to freak and panic and move out and go back to your mother, for better or for worse, richer or for poor. And so I'm saying I do to some blank circumstances, and I'll spend the next 20 years trying to figure out, do I? And that's a lot like going into business, and that's a lot like being successful, and that's a lot like hiring people. You kind of get some kind of flow, and we say, do you? And they say, I do, and then you hire them, and then you think, do you? Do you really? Can you really handle where we are right now? It's exploding into growth. I don't know which is the most challenging. I've been both. I've been a base and a bound. I've almost been homeless. I know what it is to stay in penthouse suites and eat caviar, which is nasty. And I guess because I was raised on poor folks' food, I never developed appetite for rich people's food, but it's nasty to me. So I've been abased and abound. I've lived on both sides of the track. And let me tell you, I'm not sure which is the most challenging, the ride up or the ride down. Because success can be just as daunting as failure is. It can throw you off kilter. If you can't adapt quickly enough to it, you will lose it. You can have more opportunities than you have infrastructure. A blessing isn't a blessing if you can't handle it. So do you have the adaptability in your plan for what you're getting ready to do next? Do you have the ability to adapt to better, worse, richer, poor, sickness, health? I'm getting ready to come over here. I'm getting dressed up upstairs in my closet, getting dressed, you know, and they had this, one of those infomercials came on this morning, and they were talking about these new belts. And they said the belts are designed that you have 36 options instead of a hole every inch. And they said, so if you eat too much, you gain weight, you lose weight, the belt just adapts. And I start laughing because if I could have got it right then, I would have brought it with me. Because have you ever ate one of those meals and made you wish you had another hole right here so you could breathe? You know, that's the way going up is. Going up, if you don't have the expansion joint in your strategy, that accommodates winning. You could be praying to win something that you can't handle if you get it. If you hire people for where you are, you wasted money if they can't go where you're going. Are you following what I'm saying? So you have to have that adaptability to be able to transition from one state into the next. And when the thing gets rough and gets tough, what you need as a leader and as a thinker is not just the success to get there, but the success to stay there, sustainability. Most people in a session like this lack sustainability. They're like dogs chasing cars. How many of you have ever seen a dog chase a car? Dog takes it, the car goes by, jumps over the fence and goes after the car. He's flying down the road. The car is going, the dog is going, the dog is just going like this. And maybe the dog gets lucky and catches the car at a red light or something like that, but there's one thing that the dog never considered. I can't drive. You might be chasing after something that you can't run. It's not just about getting there, it's sustainability after you get there. To get here and get invited and get invigorated and get motivated, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna get it. I don't care what comes in my way. Yeah. See, you do that, make faces in the mirror, get yourself ready, go get it, get it. Get it, get it. But can you run it after you get it? What gives people comfort in leadership is when there is a commitment to stability in the midst of fluctuations. So the whole issue, the only thing that should be stable in your ride to success is you. And if you're not a person who can be stable in the ride, you shouldn't get in the car. Stability in the midst of fluctuations is quite important. In essence, that's what I'm trying to convey to you. So what do you do when it's bad news? The best thing to do with bad news is to deliver a clear, accurate, concise message. A clear, accurate, concise message. Hello, AT&T, I cannot pay you. I will pay you next month, next year, 6 months. Clear messaging creates clear expectation, which avoids disappointment. People can handle bad news if they can trust your message. This is what happened. This is how we're going to handle it, and we are sorry. Bada boom, bada bang. But if you don't give clear messaging, united. Who said that? If you don't give clear messaging, you got to do damage control over and over and over again as people lose their heads and freak out. It is not what happens to you that matters. It is how you handle it. Are you getting what I'm saying? So I want to go to the positive end, and I'm trying to hurry because I got a lot to tell you and don't have much time. I want to tell you about success strain. Success strain. Success creates strain. It challenges your ability to grow and to evolve. The very thing that you're here to get is the very thing that's going to drive you nuts. It's strain. The strain of winning. The strain of getting more response than you expected. The strain of getting the deal. I got the deal. I got the deal. I got the deal. Can you handle it? You can't handle the deal. Excuse me, there's 5 people standing up here. Success strain. When you win, it strains you. Stress is an indicator. It's a benefit. It's a favor. It lets you know you're at your limits. It does not mean that you cannot do it, but it does mean you have to change something. Anytime there is stress, you have to change structure or strategy. Whenever I am stressed out, it is an indication that I don't have the strategy or the structure for where I'm at, and that stress is a warning bell that you need to reboot recalibrate and either change your structure or your strategy for what's about to happen in your life. I'm gonna spend my last few minutes helping you to look at that strategy, that structure. I'm from West Virginia. We had a Silver Bridge in West Virginia. The bridge collapsed, people died. It was a horrible experience. And when they did research in it, they said the bridge collapsed because of stress. That means whoever designed the bridge did not plan for the weight of winning. And I want you to take into serious consideration the weight of winning. Because if you don't, once you get up there, just through the pressure of winning, you didn't build in the structure and the strategy to handle it. And stress is going to be your warning bell going off at 2 o'clock in the morning as you're looking out the window in the middle of the night that you need to change. You can't have 7 kids in one car. Even though you can have the baby, you don't have the structure to handle the trip. So now you have to add that kind of infrastructure. And I want you to think, since you're probably going to be working with limited people, you got big dreams but limited budget, and you've got a lot of people, a small amount of people to handle. Are they tough enough? Do they have the structure to handle the stress of winning? Is your strategy like my belt I saw before I left to come over here? Does it have enough notches to handle the strain of winning? Adding and changing and adaptability of that structure and strategy is very important. Built-in flexibility for best and worst case scenarios is very, very important. So I'm looking at my life, and I'm looking at my life. I'm going to deal with my life, your life, in 2 categories. One of them I'm going to call the whirlwind. The whirlwind is all the craziness you've got going in your life that demands your attention, and it is consistent. Your whirlwind is all of that stuff that, because you're good at doing it, you create a whirlwind in your life and then sit on the side of the bed talking about, I'm tired. You did it to yourself. Because you're a winner, you have a whirlwind. Every winner has a whirlwind. Managing that whirlwind is important. But if you spend 100% of your time managing your whirlwind, you don't have time for growth. The whirlwind is an issue for one reason. It is like a football game. You know what the most important feature of a football game is? It's not the linebacker, it's not the coach, it's not who owns it, it's not the colors of the uniform, it's not the quarterback, it's the clock. The clock is the most important feature of the football game. Because what makes the football game exciting is the clock. The clock says you've only got a certain amount of time to do this. You know what the whirlwind does not have? It does not have a clock. These are the endless tasks in your life that spend all the time. All the time. You know when you get there, you've got this to do. You know when you get up on Friday, you've got that to do. The whirlwind of issues and problems it takes to make you, you. If you're giving 100% of your time to the whirlwind, you'll never get where you're trying to go. At the most 80%, no more than that. 80% goes to the whirlwind. 20% goes to the wigs. I'm not talking about what you wear in your head. I call them wigs. They are your wildly inspiring goals. Your wildly inspiring goals. If you don't carve out time to think toward and plan toward and strategize your wildly inspiring goals, don't get 10 of them, that's too many. Don't get 5, that's too many. At the most 2. And make sure that your goal is worthy of your 20%. A wildly inspiring goal is something that if you got it, it will change how you deal with the whirlwind. A wildly inspiring goal is worthy of you committing, setting aside your time and energy to focus on it. And it's not a goal if it doesn't have a clock. For instance, if you say, our goal is to provide better service to our customers, that's going to be a wildly inspiring goal. It's also going to be an unattainable goal because it is so abstract that you never know when you've done it. But if you take the same goal and say, we are getting report cards back from our customers, and our goal is to, by the end of the year, to get 70% positive report cards back. Now we have a date, and we have an indicator, and it is measurable, and it is quantifiable, and it's going to give you the thing that you need to continue to be creative, the satiety of winning. If you build a life that never says you won, all you're going to end up with is tired. For these wildly inspiring goals, we don't want any more than 2 of them. We want them to have a date on them, and we want them to be indicators to us that we have completed this so that we can have the celebration feeling of having won the game. When you begin to develop these things, the people up under you need to have them too. Here's the challenge. Make sure their wigs tie into yours. Because if they have a wildly inspiring goal that doesn't tie into your wildly inspiring goals, then you have division. And division leads to destruction. I'm going to close with this little story. I was in South Africa, and I took my son on a safari. Well, no, I didn't. I really went over there to speak for an event like this, and one of the fringe benefits of speaking over there for a bunch of billionaires was they let me stay in J. Paul Getty's house out in the middle of South Africa, and I took my son on a safari, though neither one of us really knew what a safari was. We had seen it on TV, so we're good. I bought me this outfit, you know, that I thought you would wear on a safari and make sure it fit good. I took the pictures. It was good. It's really nice. Took my son. My wife wouldn't go. She stayed in the house and prayed for us. We get out there, and I'm out there with the zoologist, and the zoologist is sitting right beside me, you know, and he's telling me all of the deep things about the lions and the eagles, and we're seeing the gazelles running, we're seeing the zebras going, we're seeing everything moving. It's amazing. And he's just telling me all kind of information. I noticed on the front of the Jeep, sitting in a chair that had been bolted down to the Jeep, was a Zulu. And the Zulu had a rifle, and he was quiet. He didn't say anything the whole time. They kept telling me that the elephants were somewhere around. We couldn't find them. There were footprints of them, and the zoologist was telling me about a footprint. It's a female. It's a female. I say it's about 5 years old or so. It's about 5 years old or so, and it looks like it's a female, maybe mating season. I said, how can you tell about footprints? He told me all this amazing stuff, all kinds of information, but he couldn't find the elephant. It's getting dark, and Dexter's making me look bad because I told Dexter and my son we were going to see the elephants. And he said, Daddy, we still don't see the elephants. I looked at the guy and said, we still don't see the elephant. And he's explaining it and he's describing it, but he can't find it. He is intelligent, but he can't find it. Finally, the Zulu, who said nothing the whole time, stood up and said, the elephant is over there. It is over there. All of a sudden my head exploded because I had everything that you need to win. I was inspired to take the trip. And then I had the intelligence of the zoologist to explain the trip I was on. And then the Zulu gave me the instinct to know what intelligence could explain but couldn't find. Inspiration could inspire it, but it couldn't find it. Intelligence can describe it, but it cannot find it. Ultimately, it is always instinct that tests the wind and says, the elephant is over there. If you take intelligence, inspiration, and instinct into every strategy you will ever go after, no matter the obstacle, the test, the storm, the trial, the tribulation, no matter how many people are against you or the haters who said you can't do it, you can't become it, you can't have it, no matter what your ex-husband said about you, if you take these 3 soldiers with you, intellect, instinct, and inspiration, you will always achieve your dream. Touch your neighbor and say, you are close. You are close. As I close today, I want to say this one thing to you. And I want you to remember it, and I want you to hold on to it. No matter whether things are better or worse, richer or poor, going up or going down, always remember that you would not be stressed or frustrated if you were not close to what you were trying to achieve. If you were not close to it, you wouldn't have that feeling down in your gut and in your spirit that something is about to happen in your life. And if you forget everything else that I said to you today, always, always remember the elephant.